Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. Well, this time of the year, I'm trying to pass on tips, pass on memories, pass on stories that have happened in the past that might give you ideas that will help you catch more fish. And here's one that has really helped me the last couple of years, and especially this year. I've really noticed a difference it can make. And that is to use a very visible, colorful line. Now, that goes against everything we think, you know. We talk about using fluorocarbon line over monofilament or braided line because fluorocarbon becomes invisible under the water and fish don't see it, so they're not afraid of it. But I'll tell you what, I've fished so many times with my buddy Rust, and we're fishing for so-called finicky fish, and I'm using all the things I think will help get them to hit, that they won't see the line, they won't know I'm there. And Rust will be using a wire leader with a little bass lure because he doesn't want to take the wire leader off. And the bass lure may be rigged in a way that I would think, geez, those fish aren't going to hit. And yet he catches just as many fish as I do, and he really does. So why am I telling you to use a colored line? And this is really important because the line itself will become a strike indicator. So often, we don't know if a fish is hitting, and we'll reel it in and it swallowed the hook because we weren't aware when it started to strike. But if you have a colored line that you're using, like any color other than natural, like white or chartreuse or red or something, that line, you see it once it's above the water. You see that line. And so if you get a fish to just nibble, to just barely take that lure in, you're going to see that line move. It's going to twitch. It gives you a much better understanding of what's happening. And I'll tell you a time when it really becomes more critical is when it becomes windy. It's even harder to know what your lure is doing under the water. But if you can watch your line, it gives you a much better chance. It's really no different than actually using a strike indicator, like people do if they're fishing a fly rod, have a nymph down there that's being presented in such a subtle way that it's really, really hard to know if you get a strike if you're not good at this. But if you have a strike indicator, a little float above it on top of the water, you can see that float dip if you get a strike. It's the same thing I'm talking about with watching your line. And finally, in getting kids into fishing or getting new people to fish that haven't fished before, I don't know if they're new people or not, but by using a bobber, it allows them to use visual as well as the feeling aspects of fishing. And so it becomes exciting too because you watch. Your concentration might be even more fixed, and you can watch that bobber in the water, and you see that bobber dip or go under the water or whatever. You know there's a fish there, and it not only helps you to fish better, but I think it can be a lot more fun. Now, granted, most pros are never going to think of using a bobber or anything like that because the sport becomes different for the pros. But for us that are out there just trying to catch a fish, or just trying to have somebody in the family that hasn't fished catch a fish, I think the more we can see, the more fun and the better it makes it for fishing. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.